Hey everyone, and welcome back to Throwback Terror, the series where I revisit horror classics that didn't rely on gimmicks or cheap scares, but instead left us feeling unsettled long after the credits rolled. Today's film is one of the most nihilistic and emotionally punishing horror thrillers of the 1980s, and it still feels cruel in a way that a lot of modern horror doesn't quite dare to be anymore. I'm talking about The Hitcher from 1986. This is a movie that immediately removes the idea that the world is fair. There's no moral balance here, no reassurance that if you do the right thing, you'll be protected. The story begins with what feels like an ordinary decision, and from that moment on, everything spirals into a nightmare that can't be undone. What makes The Hitcher so disturbing is how it turns the open road into something hostile. Highways usually represent freedom, escape, and movement. In this film, the road becomes a place of exposure. The wide spaces don't make you safer, they make you smaller. Help feels impossibly far away, and there's nowhere to hide. John Ryder is one of the most unsettling villains in horror because he refuses to behave like a traditional antagonist. He doesn't explain himself. He doesn't justify his actions. He doesn't even seem particularly emotional about what he's doing. He exists with a calm certainty that suggests he already knows how this will end. That performance by Rutger Hauer is doing so much of the heavy lifting here. He plays Ryder with restraint and quiet confidence, which makes every scene feel tense, even when nothing is happening. He doesn't rush because he doesn't need to. Fear grows when you're forced to wait, and this movie understands that perfectly. Another thing that makes The Hitcher so effective is how powerless it makes the protagonist feel. Every attempt to escape only leads to more suffering. Police don't help, distance doesn't help, logic doesn't help. Even being believed doesn't help. The movie systematically removes every safety net we expect to exist. There's also something deeply unsettling about how random the violence feels. There's no grand reveal that makes it all make sense. People are hurt simply because they're in the wrong place at the wrong time. That randomness mirrors real fear in a way that feels disturbingly honest. The film never pretends that survival equals victory. Endurance isn't rewarded here. Making it through doesn't feel triumphant. It feels exhausting. That emotional drain is intentional. The movie wants you to feel worn down, trapped, and desperate for relief that never quite comes. That's why The Hitcher still resonates decades later. It taps into very real fears: isolation, vulnerability, and the idea that sometimes danger doesn't announce itself or give you a reason. Sometimes it just shows up and refuses to leave. This isn't a comforting movie. It doesn't offer closure that feels good. It leaves you with the uneasy sense that the world can be arbitrary and cruel, and that survival isn't always about strength or intelligence. Sometimes it's just about endurance. If you enjoyed this episode of Throwback Terror, make sure to like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future deep dives into horror classics that refuse to play nice. And if you're a writer looking to sharpen your understanding of tension, dread, and psychological horror, you can find writing tips and advice on my Substack. The link is in my bio. Until next time, some roads don't let you leave.